Good morning, students. I think during lockdown period you have enjoyed much and have new experiences in different aspects of life, and at the same time you have planned how to work for society with own safety in this COVID-19 era. Well, today we shall discuss about brief anatomy of nasal septum and deviated nasal septum, that is DNS. As we know, nasal septum forms the medial wall of the nose and normally it is straight in midline. It divides the nose into two cavities and supports the dorsum and tip of the nose. But due to some etiology, it gets deviated, causing physiological, pathological, and cosmetical problems to a person. Nasal septum consists of three parts. First is columnar septum. Second is membranous septum, and third is septum proper. So, columnar septum, it is formed of columella containing the medial crura of alar cartilages united together by fibrous tissue and covered on either side by skin. Second is membranous septum. It consists of double layer of skin only with no bony or cartilaginous support. It lies between the columella and the caudal border of septal cartilage. Both columnar and the membranous parts are movable from side to side. The third part is septum proper. It consists of osteocartilaginous framework covered with nasal mucous membrane. Its principal constituents are the perpendicular plate of ethmoid, second the vomer bone. These two are the bony portion of the septum situated behind, and third part is septal cartilage or quadrilateral cartilage. Other bones which make minor contributions at the periphery are crest of nasal bones, nasal spine of frontal bones, rostrum of the sphenoid, crest of the palatine bones, and the crest maxilla, and the anterior nasal spine of the maxilla. Septal cartilage, just you see in the picture, this is the septum formed by these are the bony portion of the septum, and this is cartilaginous part of the septum. This is quadrilateral or septal cartilage, and this is the bone, it is ethmoid part. This is perpendicular plate of the ethmoid, and this is vomer. So how this is placed, just you see here. Then a small portions of this is the nasal bone. So frontal portions, spines is here. This is maxilla, so crest of maxilla and palatine is here. Just they are also forming the part of the septum. Now septal cartilage, not only forms a partition between the right and left nasal cavity, but also provides support to the tip and dorsum of the cartilage part of the nose, as I have earlier said. Septal cartilage lies in the groove in the anterior edge of vomer and rests anteriorly on anterior nasal spine. Due to trauma, the septal cartilage gets dislodged from the vomerine groove and nasal spine, leading to caudal septal deviation and spur formation. Septal destruction may occur in septal abscess, injuries, tuberculosis, excess removal during SMR leads to depression of lower part of nose and drooping of the tip. Septal cartilage lies Now come to the blood supply of the nasal septum. This is very vascular area, and you see the different vessels are there. Anterior ethmoidal artery, posterior ethmoidal artery, then sphenopalatine artery is here, and this is the greater palatine artery and superior labial artery branch here. That all supplies the septum. And there is one area, just inferior area of the septum is very vascular, where the four major arteries, they anastomose together, forming the Little's area. Here the arteries and their accompanying veins, they anastomose together, forming a plexus, and that is called the Fischl-Bach's plexus. It is very important, as in children and most of the cases where there is crusting of this area, that is the Little's area, causing recurrent epistaxis. Now, what is the etiology of the deviated nasal septum? So, etiologies are, first is trauma. So, in trauma, it may be at birth time even, when there is difficult labor and nose is pressed during the passage in birth canal, causing later on DNS. Any other causes of trauma like anterior blow and the lateral blow, that also causes deviation of the nose. Development of septum should grow at the same rate as that of face. If septum grows at faster rate, it becomes buccal. Unequal growth between palate and base of skull may also cause buckling, high arched palate. Now third is congenital. This is the abnormal intrauterine posture causing compression force acting on nose and upper jaw, as I have already said. Third is hereditary. Hereditary cause is not so much detected, but familial cause may be one of the factor. Many persons in a family can have DNS. Now, next is racial. So, Caucasians are more affected, and other causes that is secondary to a tumor, mass, or polyp. Now, what are the types of deviated nasal septum? So types are deviation, upper or lower, anterior or posterior, C-shaped, S-shaped. Nasal cavity on the concave side of the septum will be wider and may show compensatory hypertrophy of the turbinates. So in C-shaped variety we can see anterior dislocation. It is seen on tilting the patient head backwards. Third is spurs. So this is self-like projection at the junction of the bone and cartilage. It may predispose for epistaxis and headache. On spur, there is major vessels sometimes, and there is projection of the spur causing to bleeding. Now the fourth variety is thickening. So it may be due to organized hematoma or over dislocated. Due to that there is thickening of the septum. Just you see what are the types of deviated septum. This is the normal nasal septum. Just this is a straight. In second, you just see there is a C-shaped curvature of the nasal septum. This S-shaped deviation may be posteriorly or upside down. Here is the dislocation of the caudal septum. This part is dislocated from this maxillary crest here. So this is dislocation. Cartilaginous part and bony part, they project. It is almost 1/3 and 2/3 of the septum at the junction of this. This presses the inferior turbinates. Here is the thickening of the septum, may be due to infection, hematoma formation, or due to trauma, overlapping of the part of the septum that forms the thickening of the nasal septum. Deviated nasal septum causes many symptoms to a patient. The first is nasal obstruction. So it depends on the type of septal deformity, which type of septal deformity is there that causes upper, mid part or lower part obstruction more. So the obstruction may be either unilateral or bilateral. Respiratory currents pass through upper part of nasal cavity. Therefore, high septal deviations cause nasal obstruction more than the lower ones. When examining a case of a nasal obstruction, one should assess the site of obstruction in the nose. It could be at vestibular region, at nasal valve region, or atic region, or turbinate region, that is hypertrophic turbinates or concha bullosa, and the choanal region. Even the obstruction may be present in the choanal region. So we have to assess where the site is causing nasal obstruction. Unilateral choanal atresia may be missed in infancy and childhood usually. Choanal polyp may be missed on the anterior rhinoscopy unless posterior rhinoscopy or nasal endoscopy is done. So for the examination of the DNS for obstruction, we have to examine properly by anterior rhinoscopy. We will find there is deviation of the nasal septum causing unilateral. Usually the septum is deviated and covering almost the cavity, nasal cavity. And another side we will see there is hypertrophy of the inferior turbinate. This is compensatory hypertrophy. Posterior rhinoscopy, when we will do, then we can see the choana is free or there is some sort of obstruction due to polyp or any atresia in children. Endoscopy is the best method to ascertain the site of obstruction and assess to the posterior part also. Second is the headache. Second symptom is headache. This deviated nasal septum, especially a spur, may press on the lateral wall of the nose, on the inferior turbinate, that causes pressure headache. Third most important, third is the recurrent attacks of cold. So there is symptoms like recurrent attacks of cold due to obstruction of the nose. Then comes the epistaxis. So the mucosa over the deviated part of the septum is exposed and it is drying effect of the air currents leading to formation of crusts. And these crusts produces irritation and usually the patient picks the nose or due to crackling of the crusts due to drying it causes epistaxis. Bleeding may also occur from vessels over a septal spur because there is a spur stretching the vessels over it, and anosmia is another important symptom that is due to the failure of the inspired air to reach in olfactory region may result to total or partial loss of sense of smell. As we know, the upper third of the nose having the olfactory nerves, and that is responsible for sense of smell. So when there is lack of aeration, the smell is decreased. Sense of smell is decreased there. Another symptom is external deformity. So this external deformity may be associated with deviation of the cartilaginous or both the bony and cartilaginous part of the dorsum of the nose. Deformities of the nasal tip or columella may occur that can be seen externally. Another symptom is middle ear infection. as the DNS causes poor ventilation of the sinuses, that causes sinusitis, and this infection travels through the Eustachian tube to the middle ear, and that causes middle ear infection. Sinusitis is caused by poor ventilation, as I have said, and therefore it is one of the important symptoms where the headache, nasal blockage, discharge from the sinuses, and other symptoms, facial tenderness, that may maxillary malar tenderness may occur. Third is the recurrent attacks of cold. So there is symptoms like recurrent attacks of cold due to obstruction of the nose. Then comes the epistaxis. So the mucosa over the deviated part of the septum is exposed, and it is drying effect of the air currents leading to formation of crusts, and these crusts produces irritation, and usually the patient picks the nose, or due to crackling of the crusts due to drying, it causes epistaxis. Bleeding may also occur from vessels over a septal spur, because there is a spur stretching the vessels over it, and anosmia is another important symptom that is due to the failure of the inspired air to reach in olfactory region may result to total or partial loss of sense of smell. As we know, the upper third of the nose having the olfactory nerves, and that is responsible for sense of smell. So when there is lack of aeration, the smell is decreased. Sense of smell is decreased there. Another symptom is external deformity. So this external deformity may be associated with deviation of the cartilaginous or both the bony and cartilaginous part of the dorsum of the nose. Deformities of the nasal tip or columella may occur that can be seen externally. Another symptom is middle ear infection. As the DNS causes poor ventilation of the sinuses, that causes sinusitis, and this infection travels through the Eustachian tube to the middle ear, and that causes middle ear infection. Sinusitis is caused by poor ventilation, as I have said, and therefore it is one of the important symptoms where the headache, nasal blockage, discharge from the sinuses, and other symptoms, facial tenderness, that may maxillary malar tenderness may occur. Or examination. By anterior rhinoscopy, we will see there is deviation of the nasal septum or the caudal deviation, dislocation of the tip, hypertrophy of the inferior trabinate in another side. On posterior rhinoscopy, we can see any polyp or any deviated bony part of the deviated nasal septum. Endoscopically, we can assess which part of the septum is causing obstruction and how much it is deviated from cartilaginous part to bony part. So by this examination we can assess, and another things we can do for X-ray, CT scan to know about the condition of the sinuses, to know about the deviation, which part of the bone or cartilaginous part or bony part is deviated, how much deviated, we all can assess by CT scan. Now the differential diagnosis. It is polyps. Second is the septal hematoma. Third is the hypertrophy of the trabinates. These conditions may simulate with the DNS. Now come to the treatment. Treatment usually minor degree of septal deviation having no symptoms are commonly seen in the patients and require no treatment. It is only when deviated septum produces mechanical nasal obstruction or the symptoms as I have already described, that is only operation is the treatment. This operation is of two types. First is submucous resection of nasal septum, and that is SMR. It is generally done in adults above the age of 17 years, and it consists of elevating mucoperichondrial and mucoperiosteal flap on either side of the septum. Both sides of the mucoperichondrium and mucoperiosteal flaps are elevated, removing the deflected part of bony and cartilaginous septum and then repositioning the flaps. So the major portion of the cartilaginous and bony part which is deviated is removed in this operation. Now, what are the indications of SMR operation? So this is deviated nasal septum causing nasal obstruction and recurrent headaches, deviated nasal septum causing obstruction to ventilation of paranasal sinuses and middle ear, resulting in recurrent infections. Then recurrent epistaxis from septal spur as a part of septorhinoplasty, harvesting cartilage graft for tympanoplasty and rhinoplasty as an approach to surgeries of sphenoidal sinus, median nerve, and pituitary gland. Now, what are the contraindications of SMR operation? This is acute upper respiratory tract infection. Second is the patient below age of 17 years. Third is bleeding disorders. And fourth is uncontrolled hypertension and diabetes mellitus. So in SMR operation, local anesthesia or general anesthesia can be used. So far as position of the patient during operation, it is declining position with head end of the table raised. How the operation is done? So this is the procedure. First, infiltration. This is the subperitoneal infiltration with 2% xylocaine with adrenaline. But to use 2% xylocaine, first we go for xylocaine sensitivity test before operation. Now the incision we use is Killian's incision. In this incision, curvilinear incision about 2 to 3 millimeter behind the anterior end of septal cartilage is given, and then the mucoperitoneal and mucoperiosteal flap is elevated. Cartilage is incised just posterior to the incision given earlier, and the elevation of the opposite pericordial and mucoperiosteal flap is done after. The next step is to removal of the cartilage and bone. Cartilage can be removed with Ballinger swivel knife and lux forceps. Bony spur is removed by using gauze and hammer or by drill. So after the operation, we should pack both of the nasal cavity after repositioning the flaps. This is the different steps of SMR operation shown in this figure. Now, what are the complications? So, complications may be bleeding, septal hematoma, damage to surrounding structures. Septal hematoma form may lead to septal abscess, or septal perforations even may occur. Then depression of the nose, nasal bridge, retraction of the columella of the nose, synechia, flapping septum and occasional CSF rhinorrhea can occur. Now the second operation is septoplasty. So it is a conservative approach to septal surgery as much of the septal framework is retained. So it is conservative method. Only the deviated part of the septum is removed and most of the septal framework is retained. What are the indications? So this is deviated nasal septum causing nasal obstruction and recurrent headaches. Deviated nasal septum causing obstruction to ventilation of paranasal sinuses and middle ear resulting in recurrent infections. Recurrent epistaxis from septal spur as a part of the septorhinoplasty as an approach to surgery of the sphenoidal sinus, median nerve and pituitary gland. So almost the indications are same as in SMR. The contraindications of septoplasty similar as acute upper respiratory tract infection, bleeding disorders and uncontrolled hypertension and diabetes mellitus. The only thing this operation can be done under age, where in children less than 17 years of old, even if there is severe symptoms of blockage of the nose is there, carefully we do septoplasty operation. Now in anesthesia, local and general anesthesia and position same as in SMR operation. So during the steps here also the infiltration with 2% xylocaine with adrenaline is done after sensitivity test. Then incision, here is Friar's incision. Friar's incision, a unilateral hemitransfixation incision at the caudal border of the septum. Here the exposure of the views, here the mucoperiochondrial and mucoperiosteal flap is elevated on only one side here. Next, to separate septal cartilage from vomer and ethmoid plate. Then inferior strips of cartilage is removed here. Correct the bony septum by removing deformed parts. Minor deviations of cartilage are corrected by crisscross incision, which breaks spring action of the cartilage. Finally, the flap is placed, reposed, and nasal packing is done in both the nasal cavities. Post-operative complications are almost similar. The bleeding, septal hematoma, damage to surrounding structures, septal abscess, septal perforation, depression of the nasal bridge, retraction of the columella, synechia, infection of sinus and middle ear, CSF rhinorrhea as in case of SMR operation. Then the importance of SMR operation and septoplasty operation. This is very important to know. Now in SMR operation, this is a radical operation, while septoplasty is a conservative surgery. Second is, it is not done, SMR is not done in children, but septoplasty can be done in children. So far incision is concerned, SMR operation, Killian's incision is preferred, while in septoplasty, Freiher's incision is preferred. Then the flaps are elevated on both sides in SMR operation, while flap elevated on concave side only in septoplasty operation. In SMR, most of the cartilage is removed, while in septoplasty operation, most of the cartilage is preserved. Then caudal dislocation not corrected in SMR operation, while caudal dislocation is also corrected in septoplasty operation. Perforation of the septum, there is higher chance in SMR operation, while the perforation is rare in septoplasty operation. Post-operative saddling may be present in SMR operation, but less in case of, or absent in case of, is septoplasty operation. Revision operation is very difficult in cases of SMR operation, while revision surgery is easier in septoplasty operation. So this ends today's discussion. My best wishes. Be safe, happy and healthy.